The first annual Trips Festival, November 1978, Franklin Grove, Illinois. The weeks flew by fast, and one Saturday morning I woke up, smoked a bowl, and popped a hit of white lightning blotter acid. Moon came over, and I turned him onto a hit of acid while we listened to an album or two. He was living in Dixon now, but I knew him from the old Franklin days when he was a year ahead of me in school. We grooved to the music for a while and started to get off before we headed uptown to grab a soda. Skylar and Bob were uptown doing nothing. Sky knew Bruce Schwitters from Rochelle and had been hanging around Franklin lately, and they came over to talk to us. I told them to meet us at Lover's Leap, and I'd turn them on to some good blotter acid and we'd smoke a couple of bowls. Sure, Bob said. We were just getting ready to burn one anyway. Two girls from Franklin, Goldie and Ruby, stopped their car next to ours to talk about us getting stoned together. We told them the plan. Get stoned and trip out. Cool. Neither one of the girls had ever taken acid before, but agreed to meet us down by the cliffs to catch a buzz anyway. 3 cars parked on a gravel road for a walk down a forgotten lane to trip near the cliffs, the children of the woods. I was already tripping. Moon said he was starting to get off. Bob and Sky surprised us by bringing out Carl, the town drunk, and Darren, GW's youngest son, with them. I passed out 6 hits of acid I had left to the 6 people who hadn't taken any yet. Ruby and Goldie figured, what the heck, they might as well try it once. A couple of them wanted to pay me for the acid, but I said just forget it. After a couple bowls of pot, we were pretty much relaxed for a while, enjoying the perfect fall day outside. Skylar picked up a walking stick along the way and was juggling it, flipping it into the air and catching it. He was hanging upside down from a low-hanging branch, and the girls were laughing at him. I was carving my initials into the picnic table with my car keys. Moon had a 35mm camera and became the photographer to this acid-orchestrated event and had a field day with the colors in this nature resort. I had my cheap old 110 camera, and we both took a bunch of pictures. Even Carl, the town drunk, was turned on to acid, the grooves of the celebration. He was an old hippie who had been cool forever, way back through the Johnson administration, part of the great society who was tripping peacefully under the shade trees, sipping a beer, basically left alone, though me and Skylar kept talking to him off and on. The girls were laughing and giggling down by the cliffs. They had a strange sense of togetherness. Most mixed-up kids do, because neither one of them had ever tried blotter acid before. I think it was hitting them pretty good. The acid had kicked in for everyone, and we had a togetherness that soared above the cliffs and beyond the tree lines into the most beautiful colors imaginable. We sat around smoking pot and laughing like little children in a lost paradise. Darren was telling us that the forest here was once sacred ground to Black Hawk's tribe, the Sauk and Fox tribes, because of the large springs and giant cave nearby. I was telling them that Bruce and I had just climbed the cliffs and had been to the springs recently. Sky asked me if Bruce had shown me the hole in the cliff wall or any power plants. Darren told us he had laid out some trails in this area and knew every square inch and said, "You wouldn't believe all the shit that grows around here." We all laughed. The girls didn't know what power plants were, except for the wild Illinois green that grew around here. We were feeling like ancient warriors, invisible and even invincible, stoned and powerfully alive. Ruby was scratching her back on a tree like a bear while Goldie fell down on the ground laughing. That was cool. I was still peeking on the blotter acid and was joking to Moon about his taking pictures. Sometime in the afternoon we managed to wander back through the nature preserve, taking a shortcut through some private property getting back to where we parked. We must have looked like hippie clowns in a circus, tripped out as we were, looking like freaks. "The 8 Trips Festival morons," I said. Skylar was saying that we should have a really big Trips Festival in the future. "Talk to Greg," Moon said. "He's the radical in the group." My heart was flying high. We were young and wasted, but we had to walk quite a ways and was exhausted by the time we got back to our cars. We talked for a while and sat there smoking a couple of bowls. We split up in the cars and decided to meet later, in town or around town, who knew. Moon and I went in his car, the 2 girls in Ruby's car, and the 4 guys in Sky's car for them to make a beer run. The girls headed towards Dixon, the guys to Ashton, and me and Moon to Franklin, a 3-way split. 3 cities infected with raging acid heads at the same time. Moon and I got the munchies and some pop and sat on top of his car hood, chowing down while watching the cars drive by and talking about how wasted we were and how strange everything was. After we pigged out and grooved for a while, we figured it'd be cool to cruise out and smoke a couple bowls towards Monday's Bridge and see how deserted it was. We parked the car by the bridge and decided to walk down a path to the cliffs and burn some when we heard a car coming. The 4 tripped-out beer drinkers showed up with a case of beer. I didn't feel like drinking anything, though, and everybody's acid was wearing off a little bit, but Skylar had a surprise. He had picked up a couple extra hits of acid and was turning everybody on to an extra half a hit to get them going again.